Okay, chapter two. God damn it. Chapter 3 of Hidden Class J.O.A.T. Exploration. It was it was now morning. God, chapter 3 of Hidden Class J.O.A.T. Exploration. It was now morning. The sun beaming through the trees. It was now morning. The sun beaming through the trees. God damn it! Cannot. Why did that sound wrong? Morning sun beams. Well, that's why it sounds weird. The sun beams through the trees as one man continues. I keep writing in past tense, oh my god. Continues to sleep peacefully. Junu was in bliss as he slept without a care in the world. This would continue if not for two problems. The first problem nudges his white head against Junwoo's cheek, trying to gently wake him up. Junwoo simply ignores it and faces the other way. Second problem, seeing it was futile, jumps up and lands onto his Junwoo's stomach. Hold on. Jump up Jumps up and lands onto his stomach, waking him up instantly. Yeah. The momentary pain jolts him awake as he freaks out a bit. Excuse me, sorry about that. I burp. As he freaks out a bit, another second passes before he regains composure. The trachna larvae were on his lap, just waiting patiently for him to calm down. Getting a surprisingly pleasant sleep made him forget where he was. Seeing both creatures cuddling him, he remembers where he was and what he needs to do next. But first, something needs to be done. Let's eat something. I'll just move this. Setting the two down on the mattress, Junwoo scoots off the bed and looks through his leftovers. After some contemplating, Junwoo decides on having tteokbokki for breakfast, since he has more of it. Taking out the containers filled with tteokbokki and tteokbokki sauce, Junwoo starts up his stove. Quickly reheating the tteokbokki, Junwoo enjoys his breakfast with his two new companions as the sweet savory spicy sauce makes a great wake-up call. The savory sweet spicy sauce makes a great wake-up call. As he and the two monsters finish eating, Junwoo is thinking about his next move. As of now, he is completely lost on the floor that is extremely dangerous for him. Now that he is stuck here, he will have to somehow survive. No point in dwelling on it further. Junwoo prepares to leave, putting everything back in the cart before covering the whole thing with the tarp. With the branch spear in hand and the spray bottle tied to his waist via a string, he hold on. Probably should say rope instead. Is it via rope? Yeah, since I don't know, I can say with the rope. Always with the rope. He was ready to move out. He also packed the regular spear that, as there was reason to leave it. He also packed the regular spear, as there was no reason to leave it behind. It also doesn't hurt to have a backup. Junu begins to push his cart. Thank goodness it had big wheels as he decided to head in one direction. The two critters who had been watching him pack up also get ready to leave with him. Well, at least I won't be alone. Junu kneels down to pet the to, to which both accept affectionately. The white axolotl wagged its tail while the blue trike was deeply purring. Getting back on track, Junwoo makes his way out of the forest with his cart in tow along with two new friends. Moving it up, moving. I also had that problem. I keep right when I think when I'm writing, I also forget words in between. Goddamn. Moving through the forest was both comforting and alarming. He would stop to take in his surroundings whenever he could, whenever he would stop to catch a break. Even though it was a tower floor, he couldn't help but be mesmerized. The nice sunny weather, untouched nature, and clean fresh air gave off a sense of familiarity. Familiarity. What was completely different, however, was everything else. The life of the forest was completely different to what he knew. As he went along, Junu realized something. This may be an unknown flora, as the creatures he saw were truly amazing and distinct, but never been described before, or at least never publicly revealed. Every creature he saw was some combination of dinosaurs or liz- uh, hold on, that's too specific, or lizard, reptile. That's better. Combination of dinosaur or reptile with bug-like features, like such as extra limbs, armored shells, wings, and eyes. One creature he saw was a tree-climbing bug chameleon. Another creature, or technically creatures, he's, he saw was a herd of dinosaurs. They were hadrosaurs, specifically Parasaurolophus, duck-billed dinosaurs with their famous elongated crest. They were big as cars, with parts of the belly covered with beautiful exoskeleton armor, mainly the back and crest. What is assumed to be the leader of the herd made a loud call which sounded similar to a train whistle. It was probably a warning to not come any closer, to which Junwoo couldn't agree more on. Not every creature was so harmless though, as the trio ran into more bug raptors. This time, however, Junwoo was prepared for this moment. He immediately ushers the two creatures to get behind him as he lays on the first line defense, spraying a wall of gochujang lemon water. The spray proved effective as the raptors felt the pain and irritation in their eyes as they stayed inside the mist. The white axolotl quickly followed up with magic missiles bombarding them. Raptors, not knowing what was happening, immediately backed off and left. Yep, that's it. Fled. Wait, hold on. Here for this moment, he immediately let's say improvised pepper spray. Buzz. Effective. Feel the pain. Axel. The axolotl larva quickly followed up with magic missiles, bombarding them. The raptors, not knowing what is happening, immediately backs off and flees. Yeah, this is. I have a bad issue of writing past tense, or I keep writing in past tense. It works. The improvised pepper spray definitely works. There was a voice of doubt gnawing at the back of his head, saying it was only. There was a voice of doubt gnawing at the back of his head, saying it only works on him and not them. But now he can lay these doubts to rest. Junwoo and the two critters kept walking through the forest until they heard the sound of running water. Kept going forward where they finally saw a break in the canopy. Daylight beaming down in the daylight beaming down on or sun, yeah, not daylight, sunlight beaming down on an open area. A river junction lay in front of them. The herd of parasaurs that he saw earlier had come by for a drink of water. They were quite the distance away up the river, so they paid no attention to the trio. Soon the rest of the herd reached the shore, standing side by side, taking sips of water. Some even went into some even going into the water to cool off. Out of the shops came out little parasaurs, running around playing. Some of them ran into the water, some of them were wrestling with each other, while some stayed close with their mothers. So cute. Junwoo's house Junwoo's heart couldn't handle the cuteness of the babies. As he parked his car nearby, the blue trike and the white I really need to the what? The axolotl larva. The axolotl axolotl larva make their way to the river to drink and play. Taking a spear from the cart, June also walked up to the river. Setting the spear down beside, June scoops up the cold fresh water and washes his face and hair. It was pure bliss. The relief after a long hike through the woods was something he waited for. Although he was not out of the woods just yet, the river was a good sight. He takes off his socks and shoes and dips his sore feet into the cold into the cold river. He considered drinking the river water, but decided against it, as even clean rivers weren't safe to drink back on Earth. As he went back to the cart to grab a bottle of water, Strike and Axolotl continued to play, splash, continued to play, splashing water, headbutting, and chasing each other. The more he thought about it, the more strange June realized about the pair. After observing many monsters on the floor, he could quickly tell that most of them stayed with their kind. The herd of bug-like parasaurs down the river was an indicator of that. The two were, from the looks of it, two distinct species. Was it a symbiotic relationship, a mutualistic survival tactic, or was it simply friendship? He really didn't think too much on the matter as he returned to the river to relax. Hold on. Let's see, decide not to think too much. Decided not to think too much on the matter as he returned to the river to relax. As he returned to the river to relax. What's the point of the answer if it didn't change anything for him? His, his stomach interrupted. His stomach interrupted his thoughts. He hadn't eaten anything since breakfast. Getting back up, Junwoo walks back to the cart and prepares a lunch. The two monsters stop playing after realizing it was time. After realizing it's also time for lunch. Time for lunch and waiting nearby. Junwoo looks over his supply of food as looks over his supply of food. At best, it will only last a few more days, probably even less now that he has two. Now that the two have a taste for them. Wait a minute. Junwoo went back to the river, looking closely at the water, waiting patiently to see if he could spot any movement in the water. To see if he could spot anything. Watching closely, he could see small shadows moving under the water towards the river floor. There were definitely fish in the river. Excited, Junwoo heads back to his car to grab a spear. He thought about using the branch spear, but quickly realized it was way too big for spearfishing. So instead, he grabbed his first spear and begins to modify it. I keep writing in past tense, god damn it. So instead, he grabs his first spear and begins to modify it. Using his knife, Junwoo starts splitting the opposite end of the spear, as he didn't want to lose the first spear. As he didn't want to lose his spear point, turning the other end point into a four-pronged trident. Using twigs to keep the prongs blade, Junwoo has a better chance at fishing. Rolling up his sleeves, now rolling up his jeans, the water was almost knee deep. As Junwoo slowly why do I treads toward treads towards the middle. Keeping still as possible, Junwoo waited for his moment to strike. Fish swim past him as he lunges at them, either too far away, too small, or too fast. Yeah, okay. Fish, fish swim past him as he lunges at them. Lunges and misses. Lunges at them and misses. They were they were either too far away. They are either too far away, too small, or too fast. He always felt so close and yet so far. So far away from target. He always felt so. He always feels so close. Yeah, this is why I do this. Before I just release them as is, even though I did finish right. It's because there's so much problems with it. Catching one, and yet always, and yet so far away from getting one. Catching one, so far away from getting one. After, after a few adjustments and a dozen more tries, he finally catches one. He quickly brings it back to shore with where the trike and axolotl have been watching attentively. Well, I caught lunch. He could only laugh sheepishly. While it was a decent sized fish, it wasn't much of a meal for all three of them. Guess I'll just re. Guess I'll reheat some leftovers. Get I don't really want to. Skip the sound effects. As he begins to prepare the fish, the axolotl hops onto the trike's back as it moves towards the river. Curious, Junwoo puts the knife down and watches what what the two were doing instead. Carrying the larva Carrying the axolotl larva on its back, the trike beetle slowly makes his way towards the edge of the river, towards the edge of the shallows. The water came up to its belly. If the axolotl had walked up itself, it would be swimming. It would be swimming. Just like Junwoo, both of them waited for a moment to strike. That moment came faster than expected. That moment came faster than expected, but the duo were ready. The axolotl larva begins charging up magical energy. The axolotl larva begins charging up magic energy before firing off multiple magic missiles. The, pro- the projectile shot right into the into the water, and soon after, fish began to float up, one after another. Soon, half a dozen fish were secured. The shark gestures to Junwoo to go grab them. Junwoo was shocked and impressed, as the duo made it look easy. Collecting the rest of the fish, Junwoo now has enough for himself and the two to have a decent meal. After cleaning the fish, he places the fish on sticks. After a while, but like on sticks to grill them. On sticks to grill them. But after a while by the fire, he tests the doneness of the grilled. He tests the after a while by the fire, he tests the doneness of the grilled fish. Okay, they're ready. As they are getting ready to eat, the trike noticed something behind them by the trees. Junwoo jumps. Junwoo jumps in shock, almost dropping his food. He was clue. He is clueless. He is clueless to what was going on. He places the fish down and quickly grabs his branch spear and spray bottle, ready for an attack. However, he didn't see anything. However, he didn't see anything. In fact, that terrifies him more. That doesn't really flow right. Only, only puts him more in it. No, that was right, huh? He's clueless as to what was going on. I know, I think oblivious. He was oblivious to what was going on. That's obvious. He is oblivious. He's oblivious about what was going on. He placed down his fish and quickly grabs his bread. However, he didn't see anything, which only puts him more on edge. More on edge. The track. Sorry about that. The track picks up. Try. The track picked it up almost immediately, with the axolotl immediately following its lead. Then Jumbu heard it. No, more like he felt it. The soft yet audible steps of something big was coming closer and closer. The closer it came, the more clear it became. It was running. Soon enough, the source of the steps came out of the forest. A green and brown dinosaur, roughly 6 meters in height. It was bipedal and had big arms, each with three long claws tucked to its chest. Tucked to its chest. Its relatively small head bore two big eyes. Its body bore a combination of a bug's exoskeleton, but this time paired with the plumage of feathers instead of lizard skin or scales. It was a dinosaur. It was a dinosaur mixed with the mantis. At first, Juno thought it was. At, at first, thought it was what caught the Trike's attention. But the dino, but the dino mantis didn't show any interest. Just kept running before turning around, and looking behind it. Following its gaze, Juno found the true cause of alarm. Coming out of the forest, crawled a horrifying monster. Its black armor and red flesh, its mouth full of teeth with bladed mandibles on both sides. Its thousands of legs along its serpent body that looked to be 15 meters long. Raising its head up off the ground, its sides flapped out like a hood. It was a giant cobra centipede. Every hair on his body stuck up. His whole uh, his whole body full of goosebumps. Fear had overtaken Shinju Wu. He didn't even realize he collapsed onto the floor. Everything he had encountered so far could not compare to this creature. This creature is truly a monster. Junwoo's heartbeat could be felt throughout his entire body. What can he do? What should he do? The nudging and cooling knocked him out of the nudging and cooling knocked him out of his daze of fear. He didn't even realize that he had been holding the axolotl closely. The little guy had been trying to get his attention by nuzzling and bumping him, snapping back to reality thanks to the larva. Thanks to the larva, Junu reassesses the situation. After the Dinomantis had turned around to face the Cobra centipede, it in turn had stopped and began to approach slowly, sizing up the giant serpent. Despite having big arms and long claws, the Dinomantis could only keep bellowing at the giant snake. Upon further inspection, Junwoo realized it was holding something alive. Hiding under each arm was a little baby mantis, its children, its mother. No wonder what she was only bellowing. She was keeping her young close and safe. The bellowing caught the attention of the herd up the river, causing them to move away in safety. The, the female quickly set its young on the ground and the two babies hide under her. Cobra itself had not made any movement just yet, as the Dinomantis had not broken eye contact with it. It had noticed Junwoo and the two critters, but for the most part ignored them. Junwoo checks his pepper spray bottle, roughly half full. It was definitely his best detergent as he quickly repumps it to keep it pressurized. Repumps the handle to keep it pressurized. He could set it to mist to cover he could set it to mist to cover a large area, but the wind was blowing towards them, making the mist option unreliable. In fact, it might backfire. The normal the more the normal spray can hit the target, but the distance isn't too far. But good hit sorry, but the distance isn't too far. Setting up settling on the jet setting, which will give him distance, but he will have to be precise with his aim. But but then suddenly another creature comes out of the forest, appearing from behind the cobra centipede. It was another dynamite. It was another dynamite. This one was bright orange and was a lot more heavily armored. Its mane-like plumage was eye-catching. It was definitely her mate. The male had arrived to fend off the attacker. The cobra immediately turned its attention to the male and lunges at him. The male mantis swipes with both arms and was able to land a hit with the second, fending off the surprise attack. The cobra quickly recovers and begins sizing up its new opponent. The male bellows while feigning swipes. In another surprise attack, the cobra lunges straight for the male's neck. The male mantis dodges the attack, turning his body to face the predator. However, that was the snake's plan. As its tail immediately began to coil, as its tail immediately begins to coil around the male's body when it least expected. In an instant, the snake regains its advantage, pinning the mantis to the ground, its thousand pointed legs gripping on as it tries to squeeze the life out of the male mantis. Go! The axolotl fires off magic while Junwoo shoots with the jet setting of the spray bottle. Snake turns to see what attacked it, only to be met with a burning liquid in its eyes. The pain of the improvised pepper spray caused Snake to react sporadically, uncoiling to recover from this pepper spray, uncoiling, sporadically and uncoiling, allowing the mantis to escape. The mantis quickly gets back up and faces the snake. Junwoo and the two stand behind the giant dino mantis to provide further support. The male mantis acknowledges this alliance. Choo and the two stand behind the giant dino mantis to provide further support. Male mantis acknowledges this alliance and turns his attention back to the cobra centipede. Having recovered from the pepper spray, the giant serpent once again prepares to attack. Now its attention was on Junwoo and the two as well. The battle continues, this time with Junwoo and the duo supporting the mantis. The cobra centipede charges the mantis, laying low to the ground. Mantis prepares to meet the incoming attack. Just as they are about to fight, the snake instead circles around the mantis. The snake instead circles around the mantis, ignoring him entirely. Who the cobra is really targeting is Shin Jun Woo. Predators would always target the young and weak before the healthy and strong. Who the cobra is really targeting is Shin Jun Woo. Predators would always target the weak and young before the healthy and strong. Uh, Junwoo was caught off guard. He had dropped his spears to dodge as he wouldn't be able to redirect it in time to stop the snake from closing in. Snake lunges past him as Junwoo dives to his right, quickly getting back up as fast as possible. With the spray bottle in hand, Junwoo fires at will at the snake as much as possible. The snake, not wanting to be blind, had to back off to avoid this pepper spray. The momentary hesitation was seized by the male mantis, swiping away at his claws. The swiping forced the cobra to deal with the mantis first before going for Junwoo, once again bringing its attention back to the male mantis. Hold on, that just sounds repetitive. Hold on. The two giant monsters fight once more, but this time the mantis had help. The track, being much faster, would go run around carrying the axolotl, who was busy shooting magic. Cobra was in a disadvantage. Cobra, the cobra is in a disadvantage. Disadvantage is a is at a the cobra is at a disadvantage. It was or is it? The more June thought about it, the more unusual it is. How relentless this cobra was. So far, all encounters with monsters on this floor have shown very normal animalistic behavior. The herd has shown group mentality when they sense danger. One individual warning the whole group and protecting the young together. The bug raptors were predatory but would immediately backed off. Would immediately back off if they sensed they could be in danger. Predators rarely risk injury hunting. All this points to predators rarely risk injuries hunting. All this points to one thing. The cobra is not in any danger. Watching closely, Junwoo realizes the source of his confidence. Whenever the mantis claws and the axolotl magic were about to hit, the uh, not were hit. Whenever the mantis claws and axolotl's magic hit, the snake's scales around the area would tense up, hardening scales into one giant plate, blocking against the attack. A truly flexible armor. Unless they somehow found a way to break its armor and make it retreat, or they would have to find a way, or they would have to, or they would simply exhaust themselves before being one. Uh, yeah, okay. I need to re-put this back on. I'm dumb. I'm just rereading. Okay, now I remember how. Because yeah, whenever the magic claws and edge claws of magic were about to hit, the snake scales around the area would tense up, hardening the scale into one. The scales, turning the target. Instead of turning into one giant plate, tense up, turning into one giant plate, blocking the against the attacks. Damn, I'm rereading this and it just does not flow right. those scales would harden into one giant plate, blocking against the attack. Truly flexible armor. Hardening into one giant plate, blocking against the attacks. A truly flexible armor. Unless they somehow found a way to break its armor and make it retreat, or they would simply exhaust themselves and before being picked off one by one. Junmu thinks about ways to get out of the situation, then something thinks about ways to get out of the situation. Then something clicks inside of him. That's it. Junmu backs off from the fight to get to his cart. Opening the cabin doors, he reaches in and grabs the propane tank. This should work. A propane tank it can be very dangerous if handled poorly, especially if the tank itself is damaged, causing an explosion. An explosion that will definitely scare the cobra away, maybe even killing it. Now that he has a solution, he now has to execute it. Possibly that will definitely scare the cobra away, possibly injuring it. Or maybe even killing it. There we go. Now that he has a solution, he now has to execute it. The cobra continues fighting against the three. While it isn't in While it isn't in any danger, it's also not gaining any advantage in the fight either. But then it noticed the prey that it originally went for. The new creature that was clearly the weakest prey out of everything here, standing far alone. After dodging the mantis claws, it makes a mad dash for the kill. Unbeknownst to the cobra centipede, this was what this is what Junmu wanted. This was this was what After grabbing the propane tank, Junwoo deliberately placed himself far behind the Cobra along with the propane tank to lure it into breaking the propane tank and causing an explosion, killing it. Hold on, let's move that. As soon as he sees the Cobra lunge for him, Junwoo jumps away as far as possible to avoid being hit or caught by the trap. Behind where he was standing was where he had placed the propane tank. The snake lands right on top of the propane, its weight crushing and breaking the tank, causing an explosion. Junwoo immediately tucks into a fetal position as the explosion went off, ringing his ears. The sound, uh, hold on, forget the sound covering his head. Covering his head. While he didn't get too far from the explosion, the snake's huge body took most of the blast, shielding him from any shrapnel. The huge snakes covered most of the blast, shielding him from any shrapnel. Junmu got back up to Junmu got back up to see the aftermath of the explosion. Part of its hood had been blown off. One of its bladish mandibles was missing. was missing, and bits of shrapnel across its upper section. Kurbee, the Cobra sentry was still alive, but gravely injured. The snake was momentarily dazed before it decided to run away. It wasn't until after the snake disappeared into the forest that he realized. Wait, what the heck? God damn it. How tired she was. Junu almost collapses to the ground, but keeps himself standing, taking deep breaths to calm himself. He did it. He ended the fight. If the fight had to continue, there was no, there's no, there's no telling what could happen next. The trike with the axolotl in tow came to check up on him. Junu knelt to greet them, petting both their heads. Good job, guys. As he was petting and giving them scratches, the three were given a giant bear hug, or a dino hug technically, by the big man. By the big, by, by the big mantis. Male di- the male dino mantis had really appreciated their help. Just as he's done, it was the female mantis' turn to give him a hug. Both hugs felt like heaven as the fluffiness of their feathers was surprisingly soft. Hold on, let me reread that. Both hugs felt like goddamn, I have a bad issue writing. Both hugs felt like heaven as the fluffiness of their feathers was surprisingly soft. Next up were two baby mantises, though they were two baby mantises. Though they were children, they were a head taller than Junwoo. One went to hug the dragon axolotl, while the others went to hug Junwoo. They weren't aware of their strength, so it was quite the squeeze. After the near-death hug, Junwoo was able to breathe again, that too was short-lived. Although that too was short-lived as a screen popped up in front of him. Qualifications achieved. Individual, Shinjuru has defeated level 20 boss monster, Thousand's Arm Cobra. Individual is now qualified for Ascension. Did he read it right? Junwoo can now become an Ascendant? There was a sense of relief and amazement. He now had an even better chance at surviving and getting back home. Junwoo mentally prepares himself for what's to come. The impact came suddenly like an electrical shock, tensing up his body. Junwoo felt like he got the wind knocked out of him as he as on as the screen in front of him discloses more information. Commencing ascension. Ascension in progress. Evaluating. System alert. Individual is a potential candidate for a hidden class. Evaluation complete. Individual Sin Junwoo is qualified for hidden class Jack of all trades. Imparting class. Imparting stats. Imparting class skills. Imparting class item. Ascension complete. And that is the end of chapter 3. Oh my god, that was painful. I'm so sorry, guys. I usually do these recordings in the morning. Ugh. Well, if you guys enjoy that, please like and subscribe. And I will also be releasing this on my Royal Road page soon too, after this video is uploaded. So don't worry, you guys don't. Oh, uh, it. Oh, but yeah, but yeah, please like, but yeah, please like and subscribe. This will be uploaded on Royal Road, my Royal Road page later today. See you guys.
I'ma get to you again. See you on the other side. I'd walk 1,000 miles. I'll always get to you wherever you are. No, I won't be a letdown. Tell me, what do I do?